What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Horror Feed. I am Jeff.
I'm Bethany.
Our guest today is a badass. I'm just going to say it that way. He's a badass. You guys might know him from a little game called Gears of War. His name, Mr. Carlos Ferro. Sir, thank you for
Hey,
joining us on the show.
thanks for having me, man. It's exciting.
Of course, we are excited to have you on here. I am a huge Gears fan. Huge Gears fan. Everybody who knows, like, I'm a gamer. So um, that
I
has to
like
be my first question.
I like you were confessing to being an alcoholic. You're
I
like,
know, right?
my, my my name is Jeff, and I'm a gamer.
I am a gamer.
It
Have a,
takes up about the same amount of time.
there is no 12-step program for
And
being
it's
a
just as
gamer.
productive. So good.
So my first question for you, Carlos, has to be, and I'm sure you get this all the fucking time, but I wanted to ask you, so what got you into, like, so not only just voice acting, but like I want to know how you got into voice acting, but I also want to know like how you were able to get into Gears to play like a very iconic character. Like your character in Gears is fucking iconic. He's a badass. He's my favorite character in the game.
Thanks,
So if
man.
you could walk us through that progress and just like where you got that motivation to where you wanted to be a voice actor, an actor in general, because people might not know that you've been in a lot of stuff. Star Trek: The Next Generation being one
Star
thing.
Trek.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
thanks.
Star Trek.
Thanks. Shout out to Star Trek. My road was pretty linear in terms of what most actors go through that make this their living. It was never a lark. It wasn't a hobby that turned into something like, oh man, this a break or any of that kind of thing. It was pretty straightforward in that I was in show business. I was a disc jockey in nightclubs, and at the same time in San Francisco, where I'm from, I started seeing the regional scene, like not just theater, but television and things like that. And it's in a smaller market. Show business tends to be a little incestuous. So like the TV people know the music people do engineering on segments for news shows. So all of that stuff basically led me to the community that I would start being a part of. But to be a pro, I still had to do everything, go to school, pursue a degree, figure out what exactly I wanted to do with my work. Did I want to be more of a stage actor? Did I want to work in television? My time, because I'm not a young actor, back then it was very, very different in that you kind of could make a living in theater, at least in San Francisco, markets like Chicago. Not New York so much. You'd be surprised that it's more musical theater and more for people that have been around a while to keep busy. But I was making a pretty decent living doing theater and doing kind of local stuff. Makes it sound like a small town thing, but it really is a smaller market. So commercials being represented, everything, going to school, getting an agent, all that thing that you hear about in TV and movies, it was like that, but on a smaller scale. So eventually I moved to Los Angeles, not just like, moving to the big city, but I was doing a show, a play. And I'm trying to give you guys the condensed version here because it was a long time ago. I moved to LA, did this play, things worked out, and I started doing shows, like you said, Star Trek, a lot of shows in the 90s. I used to say I did a lot of small things on big ass shows and big parts on shows nobody saw. So it's an actor's life, and it's not for everybody. And during this whole course of, just like I said, finding out what do I want to do, what is my comfort zone, what am I good at, what is absurd for me to be wasting or spinning my wheels on, I ended up doing a lot of voiceover, and I found that all these things that I trained for, I truly ironically, I trained to be a voice actor as much as an actor. I worked on dialects. I worked on, working on a script and figuring out how to create a character organically, and with the stuff that people want to hear, see, and it's funny, how life can sometimes work out just right, in that everything I did on stage, everything I ever did in front of a camera, by the time I got in a sound booth, the business was changing, and I started wearing motion capture, and my performance physically started becoming part of the voice thing. So now some games are truly like me being in a play again, or me being in a film again, or being in a TV show again, because it's all come kind of full circle to give that realism and to get our performances to be really pure and genuine. And Dom, to make it to Gears, is one of those things that, show business is 50-50, luck and, being ready for it. And I this new game that was trying to, it was arguably the first to have this real fleshed out universe and these characters that you could care about. And also, just from a game standpoint, I'm a gamer as well. I was excited to do something different, to not be sort of a stereotype or just, I worked on a lot of PlayStation 2 and first generation Xbox games. Some of the jobs were just like, hey, you went over there? What? I don't know. Like that sort of thing. And this became more of an acting gig, and even more so than ever before. No disrespect to that kind of acting. It's just that I had an opportunity to do something different, and I think we did.
Oh yeah, definitely. You guys definitely did. So as far as Gears of War, for those who've been living under a rock, Gears of War is one of the best franchises out right now. Xbox, obviously, like they kill it. Microsoft has been killing it. I've been playing it since the original, and a lot of people don't really. Those who haven't played it don't understand that this is very much like a horror-based game. It's very much about monsters.
There's
like
gore.
that.
There's good
Yeah,
shit.
there's so much gore. There might be more gore in this than there are in some of the films I've watched, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
But like with video games, you have that freedom. You're able to like literally rip limbs off and throw them at people. It's like a what is it? Carnage candy. That's what I like to say. Carnage candy.
Yeah,
And
of course.
so when
I have a quick question. It
Please.
relates. So you mentioned a lot of background there, stage acting, voice acting, and you've been in some shows, you were DJing. So out of all of that, what do you feel you like the most? Do you like voice acting a little more than stage acting? Like what do you feel like you shine most at?
Well, first of all, that's a great question. And I've been doing a lot of interviews in the last 10 years. That's one of the best questions I've ever had posed to me. Because I mean, no disrespect to the host, but um, I I find that if you want to kind of get a handle, and I am pontificating a little bit here, if you want to get a handle on what you want to do with your life, or what makes you happy, it's not usually what you think is you're enjoying at the time, or what you're investing all this time, energy, and money into. What's right for you tends to be what you miss. Like you find yourself in the middle of whatever you're doing going, I like this, but man, do I miss what it was like to be just a skater. I used to just skate. That was it. That was when I was happiest. And no matter how much I'm pursuing my hip hop dreams, I was happiest as a skater. And the second you start figuring out how to bring that love and that energy and passion to your hip hop dreams, the skating stuff, it all fuels itself. As an artist, one is not really, doesn't really trump the other. It doesn't get rid of it. It actually enhances it and makes it more special, and it makes it yours. It gives it a flavor that only you have. And so for me, I find that I've been I've been very fortunate with voiceover. Yet what I find myself missing is stage. Stage is something that that was my job for so many years, and TV had its appeal, but that still had a more of an ego-based love. It was like I liked being on television, or being in any kind of project that was on camera. I was like, I'm on TV tonight. You know what I mean? Whereas stage was the part that I prepared for, that I was really proud of, that I loved, that was like, this character's mine. And when people see this guy, they've never seen him before. It's all about me and what I can bring to it that no other actor before or after will bring. And that's what I try to, that love, and that I miss doing that. I try to shove that into my characters. I try to study up. I try to prepare. I'm giving you a very sincere answer because, like I said, it's a really great question, and I've never had it posed to me. I tell people all the time when they go, what do you love about what you do is a thing, or what's it like to be a voice actor? And it's like, it's the thing I miss. It's that I have an opportunity to create something from the ground up. And the joke answer I've given every interviewer is essentially, when I start talking about how I work on my stuff, I go, yeah, I'm that bitch. Because there are actors that they kind of they don't phone it in. That's sort of a cliche. That's not it's not really a Hollywood thing. The reality is that when you do this job for a long time, you have tricks in your bag. You have things that are clutches, things that are very not easy, but relatively easier than other things. But I've never been that guy, and too much to the annoyance of directors, other actors. Whatever you've seen a movie of the actor that everybody rolls their eyes about, that they go, oh, fuck this bitch.
I'm that guy.
I'm that guy. I'm the guy that will stop the proceedings to say, does this really make sense? Because let me tell you my long game in this project, and they're already like, fuck. You know what I mean? And I've got stories about Dom, about Leonardo da Vinci, about Michael Corleone, because I did the Godfather 2 game. I have stories where I thought I was making just a lot of sense and I was enhancing the process. And they're all telling me, let's go to lunch. You know what I mean? Like, let Mr. De Niro calm the fuck down. You know what I mean? And it's not that. It is basically me trying to just do the best job I can. But it's because that's how I perceive my creativity. And see, I already sound kind of pompous and kind of arrogant, but it's totally sincere. I swear to God, it's one of those things that I know how good things can be. At least I like to think I do. And I don't want to cut corners. I don't want to phone it in. I want it to be the danger of the stage. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, because on the
stage
it's different because it's a live audience and there's no cut edit if you mess up. It's just like you're out there and you're
and that's there. Actually that's why they would say we can cut edit, we can do this, we'll make you sound tougher in post, all that sort of thing. And it's like, no, man, you don't understand. I didn't show up to have this character that we don't know if people are going to love it or hate it, but I love him. I care, and I want the character to be as badass as possible, or as sensitive as possible, or in this case, both for like Dom. And that can only happen by conversation, by process, by research, again, did you? I'm curious, co-host. Tell me your name. I didn't get your name.
My name?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bethany.
Okay, Bethany. Do you play Gears of War, or is that just?
I play games, but I am crapping at them. So no, I have not played that one yet.
Okay, well then, for the Gears fans that I hope are watching, I will say that Dom comes from just an absurdly, some would say, researched actor. I talk to military families. I told you I'm that bitch. I told you. I talked to military families when I was working on Gears 2 because I had a lot of work to do in my mind. You know what I mean? And those who played the game, they know what I mean. I wanted to come from an organic place, yet I wanted to use my imagination and try some new things. And for video games, I have found, especially at that time, it was very unusual. I was the only guy in the room worrying this much about the relationships between the soldiers. I was the only guy worrying, I guess that in some cases, they would think it's silly how much I was worrying about it being genuine and not artificial and not something you could laugh at. And if you do laugh, if you do dismiss it, if you don't like what I did, that's cool. But I didn't do that. I didn't play the part like, if they like it, fine. If they don't like it, fine. I played it to win, and that's an unusual thing in video games. And I think that I was involved in the generation that changed a lot of voice acting. There was one. I won't. Let's see. I'm gonna curse, man. Sorry. I don't mean to jerk myself off, but I'm gonna say that there was a magazine that mentioned that my work on Gears 2 kind of changed voice acting from there forward. And it was a very wonderful compliment. But I took it as that was the fucking idea, man. That was the idea. I wanted it. If you want to chainsaw monsters and shit, that's great. But this scene, this moment, how you feel about the character and where we're going with him, you either get on the ride with me or you don't. And it seemed to me a lot of people did. It resonated, and that's what I signed up for. So I'm glad that you guys that have me on your radar, because I like to think that that's why.
And I gotta say, I don't think any of your answer was arrogant or pompous at all. Like it just seems like you're trying to put your whole self into everything you do. So that's how I took it, anyways.
Cool, right on, Anthony. Thank you.
Exactly, and nah, man, like you can tell you put your heart into, especially into Dom. Like I've been playing Gears since the first game, so like I've seen that I've seen the transition of that character throughout the series until, like, we're not going to speak about what they did, but but yeah, I've been, like, I've seen that character development, and like you put your heart and soul into that character, and it's phenomenal. And I was actually going to ask you, when they came up with the character, when they came up with that game and everything else, did they give you the creative freedom to do what you wanted with the character, or did they have like, this is what the character is, you have to go based off of this,
Well,
things like that?
what they had was, again, I've been involved with this character since 2006. It's a long time. Really, people take for granted that, I mean, I've been not only playing this guy, but I've been working on him and working with all the other artists that contribute, because it's a Willy Wonka's chocolate factory at the Coalition and at Epic Games back in the day. And still to this day, I mean, when you think of Epic, I mean, fuck, I mean, the creativity there and the teams of people, it's staggering, you know what I mean? And it's exciting for me to have been a part of it and still a part of it. So when they first started, this thing is very different than where we are now with game development. There weren't a bunch of Last of Us and Uncharted's and Assassin's Creed and Gears of War. None of that shit existed. When I came on board, it was still pretty single. There weren't franchises besides Halo. It was just a pretty isolated thing in terms of games, one shots. And this, you could tell right out of the gate that they were in it for the long haul, that there was a very fleshed out universe, and there were a lot of possibilities. But I was really impressed with each character, particularly my own, had backstory, had a look. I used to say, I like to think, I'm positive that I had a tremendous influence on Dom, because Cliff has said it, Rod Ferguson has said it, Greg Mitchell, that there are other ways to play Dom, and I didn't do that shit, and I mean in a negative way. You know what I mean? There was, and again, I think that your audience will understand exactly what I'm talking about. He was written originally to be sort of like the guy that talks to Marcus and like tells him, hey man, we got to go out to the left, man, because there might be a broom out there, hey? He was that guy, okay? And that there's a place for that. It just wasn't, for me, how I saw Dom. I used to say that there was a lot of Dom in my personality, because that's a younger actor trying to be really gracious. But the reality is that Dom's me. Dom is me channeling any bit of heroism I might have, any bit of love and compassion and caring, any bit of loyalty, camaraderie, all that. I had to summon that, like actors do. And fortunately, the words, they provided this fantastic opportunity, all these opportunities for me to be, as you're very kind saying I'm a badass. Well, Dom's the badass. Okay, Carlos is the actor that can interpret and explore what being a badass means, and that's really interesting and fun and cool. It goes for the whole squad. Barrett, Cole, Marcus, all these actors, they've got so many tools in their toolbox, and they got this opportunity, man, to fucking bring out the drill. You know what I mean? To bring out the chainsaw, literally. You know what I mean? And I get excited. You can see I get excited talking about it, because we had opportunities. It's not just me. It's not just Dom. We all had an opportunity and continue to have opportunities in the Gears franchise where we can explore things like feelings, emotions, anger, hostility, and not just be like, you got him. To the left, flank right, I mean, I've worked on a lot of games, many games. I've been very lucky. And I've seen the difference in storytelling, and all due respect to other military style games. And I've been in many really great ones too. Gears is different. Gears was brothers to the end. Gears had family issues. Gears continues to have family issues. It's cool in that way. It's not to get too Hollywood, but it's layered, man, like crazy. You can just keep peeling back and discovering new shit. And not to mention that I worked on a character that now is in comic books and action figures, and that kind of amount of lore is really hard to sell. It's hard to tell people, hey, you know how there's a Star Wars universe and an MCU and all that shit? We got one too. You'd be like, really, really, do you? And you know what I mean? And Gears does. Gears is worthy of that kind of attention and excitement. And they did a lot of cool shit that hadn't been done before. So, you know, as much as I like to think that, you know, I'm just so superb that, you know, I fixed Gears. The reality is that it was all these opportunities. But yeah, we all brought our own personal shit to it. And Dom didn't start out sounding so much like me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, man, I
now both of you are like, this fucker likes to talk. Fuck. 20
No,
minutes.
that's awesome because
yeah, like we prefer that. Like that's what we want. We want
Okay.
you. We want everybody that we interview. We want them to like spill it because that's what gets the audience. You know, they want to hear
What's
about
funny
the
is
story.
that I
They want to
actually
hear about
thought,
it.
because of the horror podcast, I thought that I'd have to come correct with some fucking horror knowledge. I swear, I was like, okay, what have I watched recently? What do I like a lot? What did I love?
Did you study for this interview then?
I prepare for everything. I
Okay,
over-prepare.
awesome.
I
There you go.
I showed up to talk about the Soska twins, to talk about Curse of La Llorona. I was going to talk about.
Wow.
Oh man, I was ready. So you know what's funny is that gets me just as excited. But I mean, I am an actor. You tell an actor, let's talk about how great you are. The actor's like, fuck yeah, let's talk about how great I am.
Oh yeah, talk about me. But speaking of it, since you did bring it up, we're gonna go ahead and do that now. So obviously, you know as well as everybody else does right now with the whole COVID shit going on, a lot of movies have been getting pushed back. Halloween Kills has gotten pushed back. Candyman's gotten pushed back. All these horror movies that are going to be fucking amazing, you know, they're all getting pushed back. So, I'm sure you've seen more movies than you could fucking count too. As far as like, how do I say? So I don't want to ask the certain question that's for the end of the show, but like, so what are some of your favorite horror characters? Like I'm a huge ass Michael Myers fan. Everybody knows it by now, but
Right.
like, who's some of your favorite?
I would say, I mean, this is not just from preparation. I am a horror fan, but I'm above all a crazy film fan, and I'm a big fan of directors. And you know, John Carpenter is the master. Okay, and John Carpenter, when I went my whole life meeting a lot of cool people because I've been in show business for so long, but he had eluded me. He was one of those people I had not met. And what would drive me crazy is that every year he would be at my comic book store at Golden Apple Comics on Melrose. And he does this thing once a year because him and his wife have a comic book, successful comic book franchise. And a bunch, I mean, it's John Carpenter, right? So a Halloween thing with John Carpenter is a really natural, beautiful thing for fans. I've missed it for the last 20 years. Like I've never made it. I mean, it drives me crazy because the store is like family to me. And finally last year, I got to meet John Carpenter. And what everybody in the room had in common is that Michael Myers and the original Halloween had that's a good term. I'm making this up as I go along. It had a violent imprint on our lives. Like it didn't just come into our consciousness like Jason or Freddy, in that we knew what was going to happen going in. We were like, oh, it's about a piece of shit that kills children in their sleep. Oh, it's about, you know, the fucking kid that, you know, drowned and all that shit. Like that we knew going in. We know it's another horror film, slasher film. Halloween, I put the opening of Halloween up there with any cinema in history, like literally in history, that when little Michael Myers removes his mask and you present the audience with the POV murder we just watched of a girl essentially punishing her for having sex was her little brother. And it fucks you up. You know what I mean? It leaves this mark of this is what horror feels like, looks like, tastes like, and the kid's innocent face, you know? And then from that moment, you're not in like, I'm curious how this plays out. You know, it's a horror film. You are rattled. You are rattled in why. The why is a big one. Is why is this happening? Then the circumstance for each person has no continuity. It's not like, oh, he's the clown stabber. No, he's just wearing a fucked up William Shatner mask, and he's one guy's up against the wall, someone else is in a, fuck it, let's get a tombstone, put it in the bed, why not? You know what I mean? And so that level of chaos and horror and suspense, that set me up for a long time, being like, there's only one true great Halloween movie, and it's Halloween, the first one. But I've watched everything made sense. I mean, I'm reasonably well versed in most horror franchises from back in the day and current, because I keep looking for that rush. And I would say the next time I had a what the fuck moment like that, you mentioned Candyman. Candyman, I had this conversation with Tony Todd at a convention. I told him the moment that the movie flips, and that is when the dog is dead, the Rottweiler. That moment I felt the whole audience, verbally, physically, they all went, what the fuck, what? Like, because it had, again, like I said, that moment of, and that is harder to come by than most imagine. So I think of, like, right off the top of my head, I'm like, yeah, Mike Myers, no shit. Then I'm like, Candyman, incredible. Not so much in the horror genre, but I already mentioned the Soska sisters. Have you guys seen American Mary?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen American Mary, Bethany?
No, the one I watched from the Soska sisters is the Rabbit remake.
Okay.
And my daughter is a huge fan of Elevator.
Oh, right on.
And that's actually what introduced me to them at the beginning, as we used to watch that. We'd laugh at it nonstop. And then I saw their movies.
See American Mary. That was it. There hasn't been a Cronenberg like ever, except Cronenberg. And it makes sense that they would end up directing Rabbit, because you can see so many influences if you're a Cronenberg fan. But yeah, man, I mean, there are so many masters. I call John Carpenter the master because that's kind of his nickname. But I bring up the Soskas because I was a fan of Cronenberg. I was a Scanners guy. I liked practical effects over digital always, and the fact that the craftsmanship continues, where people, I mean, Rick Baker retired because of digital, and the idea that someone who did American Werewolf in London would just hang up his fucking makeup coat, it's scary, because it is an indelible part of horror, of what we want, what we show up for blood. Like I always say, when a horror film stays away from blood, I'm out. I'm not interested. When there's vampire movies and they're like, we want to get into the psychology of the vampire, not so much the blood. I'm like, it's a vampire movie, right? Like, we all showed up for the fucking blood. You know what I mean?
Oh,
See,
yeah.
I find this way more fun than talking about me. Isn't that funny?
No, it's true though. Like, I hate, like, everybody knows how I feel about certain movies, like Twilight. I can't stand Twilight movies just because.
Not for you, man.
I love the
It wasn't made
lore.
for you,
The
man.
lore about vampires, and they don't fucking sparkle.
No sparkling.
And it bothers the hell out of me.
Well, I always, I'm a big Rocky Horror Picture Show fan.
Yes, definitely.
And there's a moment where Janet Weiss says to Frankenfurter, "I don't like a man with too many muscles," and Tim Curry goes, "I didn't make him for you." Right. And that's my feeling. That's my feeling about a lot of art, and it's a positive thing, actually, is that Twilight, just like Harry Potter, which I never got into. Okay, my hard drive was full by the time Harry Potter became a thing. I like to think, they didn't make Twilight for you, man. Like, clearly, like the second they were like,
the little girls.
we got a sexy senior that sparkles and this really troubled, teenage girl. It's like, dude, this is not our shit. Like that, it's for them. It's so much for them. And so
And I
like,
tried. I tried really hard to give it a shot. I did, and I watched maybe 3 minutes of the beginning of the first one, and I was just like, you know what? No, I can't. It was boring.
There were the things that I signed up for that I actually liked. Not to make this a Twilight conversation, because why? But I was hoping for the performances to be kind of interesting. I'm a big vampire and werewolf guy anyway. I like lycans and vampires. So I was like, let's. I approached it really like Dracula and Wolfman babies. Seriously, like the Muppet Babies. Like if you like the Muppet Babies cartoon is like not your shit because it's cartoon. So where's the Muppets? The voices are different. What the fuck? It's not Gonzo, but babies, it's still babies, and it's hard to not like Muppet Babies. And so I looked at Twilight like vampire and Wolfman babies, like, oh, it's gonna be cute and sweet and kind of lovely, And I was like, I can see where teenagers would love this shit and really young people. I would find it odd if adults were like, oh man, what's gonna happen to Bella? I'd be like, dude, seriously, you know what I mean? Like,
you need to calm down, sir.
Yeah, you need to calm down, Mike. So again, it wasn't for us, man. It just wasn't for us.
Definitely. I'm thankful it wasn't. I just, it hurts that those movies were made. It's like a lot of people feel it's like a slap to vampires, and I'm like, it is, but it's for the younger little emo kids. It's okay.
Well, I will say this for I'm sure that if it hasn't been mentioned before, I was gonna say I'm sure you've mentioned it, but if you're a vampire fiend, you have to see Only Lovers Left Alive by Jim Jarmusch, and that stars Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton. So you've got two from the Marvel universe. You've got Loki and the Ancient One, and it's a vampire story taken as seriously as you could hope for. It's really lovely and beautiful. Jim Jarmusch is a genius. So it's awesome. So I strongly encourage. I mean, my second recommendation after American Mary is see Only Lovers Left Alive. That movie's the shit.
Hell yeah. I got one more. Like, it's a serious question too, but I do have at least one more big question I want to ask you. And it's kind of a two-parter. So, what would you, out of your entire career, okay, like what would you like to be remembered for? Is the first part of that question. And the second part is, to the fans that are going to be watching this, like, what message do you want to leave with them? That way, if it's like words of encouragement or just a big fuck you, like, what would you like to leave to the
I
fans?
seem like a guy that would say fuck you to people. No.
Fuck you very much.
I would love, honestly, I'm going to go through your archive. If any of your guests or anybody has ever gone, my message to the fans is fuck you. I have to see that.
We have not gotten that yet.
Incredible. That would be, I actually would have an odd amount of, instead of contempt, I'd have an odd amount of respect for somebody. I'd be like, wow, you hate people. You stuck by it. You hate people. It's not just a t-shirt.
There's conviction there.
There's conviction there, right? No, I'd say remembered for, I think I could do worse than Gears of War or Dominic Santiago to be attached to my name for the rest of my life or after I'm gone. That you could have worse legacies than a character that's been around for so long, been in 5 games, that is in novels, is in comic books. I mean, that I lucked the fuck out. So, but at the same time, playing Leonardo da Vinci in the Assassin's Creed games, I should say, I get a lot of love for that and for making a historical figure special. So I would say I'd like to be remembered as sort of a worker, like a lifer. That's the term I use a lot. Is I'd like to be remembered as a guy that dedicated his whole life to his work and was pretty decent at it. That's a nice easy answer for that. But like I said, if someone said, oh fuck, dude, Dom is what you're going to remember for, I'd be like, well, my DJ name and nickname is the Dom Father. So I get that, and I'm cool with it. I'm totally cool with it. As for a message for your people, that's I don't have to think about that at all. It's effortless, and it's very, very important to me. Be kind is something that people say and hashtag and wear t-shirts about, but the concept has somehow really, I've noticed it, and I'm a grown-ass man, and I've seen it for the last 25 years. Life beats the shit out of all of us constantly. And so much more in the last year, okay? It's just beat the shit out of us. And what gets eroded first is kindness, is looking after anybody or anything besides yourself. Your self-preservation always kind of stops that, is that you're like, I could be doing that, I could be looking after people, but what's really happening is I got to look after me because things are fucked. Well, what I say to your people is, it's always going to be fucked. That is kind of the fuck you part. It's always going to be tough and rough and horrible. The exception is the good times. It's not the other way around. It should be, but it isn't. And that's once you face that, you find out how much you should be kind and how much you crave people being kind back. Is people that be kind thing, it's not so much saying, I'm kind, I'm so kind, man, I'm fucking kind, I'm the kindest person, fuck, I go to soup kitchens, I'm just that kind. No, what you're after is people being kind to you. That's what you're preaching is, I need help, I need care, I need people not to be fucking assholes when I say hi. I need people to be generous, more than they normally would be because circumstances are different for me and for them. So my message is effortlessly, be kind, explore kindness, explore how can I look after the people around me? Why do I want them to be kind to me? What would foster that? Well, maybe spending more time this way or that way instead of that way. Kindness, I didn't realize until like in the last few years, it's in such short supply, guys. So what we're doing right now, this is us being kind to each other. You guys are showing me not just respect, but you're being very, very kind and decent and understanding. I wanted to be on your show because you're my people. If you give a shit about me, I give a shit about you. So I know people that charge for interviews. Okay, I know people that are so wrapped up in I got to look after myself that they stop looking after anybody else. So, the pastor over here, I guess, is saying, be kind. Show business people not in show business, all of us, man, get together and talk about your passions like horror movies, game, man, and trash talk is fun, but how about let's go fucking win together? Let's spin all this shit into some positivity, because the one thing we're not short on is negativity these days.
Oh yeah.
True words right there. Wow, I love that. I loved all of that.
Oh, good.
That's great.
We need to write that out and post it up and hang it everywhere. I loved that. Seriously, that was awesome.
It wasn't. I mean, you asked me the question. It wasn't planned, but a message, man. It's tough right now, man. We're all looking around like, what the fuck's gonna happen? Well, we can be part of what's happening. Is he's cool, she's nice, she's pleasant. That I stopped someone being shitty to someone else. And that someone else was my brother or me or my cousin or that person lives across the street. And this is, you realize this is so not political. You know what I mean? It's just being a fucking person. You know what I mean?
Being decent. Yeah.
Just being decent, man. Like, do you know that people would come at us for how we talk about horror films and talking about liking blood and guts and treat us like absolute pariahs, like shit, And that's a fact. Like, people find ways to hate on you. And it's like, you're hating on me because I sit in front of a screen for 2 hours and I'm smiling and laughing and having fun. And it's, you're laughing at that kid that died in the lake. It's like, yeah, because what a chump. Look how he went out in the lake. You know what I mean? Like this. I want to foster happiness, man, and positivity. That's why I'm an actor. That's why I work. That's why I DJ in front of a bunch of people dancing. It's why you're doing your podcast. It's why you're doing your channel. It's why you bother. This is the good shit. You'll find you guys are a lot younger than me. You'll find when you get older that this is in short supply, man. You'll be like, fuck, I can't believe the best time of my life was sitting in front of a fucking Mike Myers poster talking shit. That was the best time of my life. And it's like, yeah, man, let's have more best times of our life, right?
Exactly, and that's the message that the world needs right now, especially now more than ever. It's like we keep trying to talk about it on here because not only do we talk about horror movies and shit like that, but we also we talk very much about mental health and everything else, and we try we know it's hard on everybody right now. It's hard on us too, and we just try to
if you
be
didn't
a little
have
bit of light.
if you didn't have mental health issues before,
Most certainly do now.
You do after this, yeah.
you certainly do now. Man, if I've seen people just be like, I didn't realize, like this really affects me. I'm like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Like, yeah, it's been affecting me my whole life, or it's been affecting my mom. You know what I mean? So, well, dude, thanks for this. I had a really good time, and you can count on me if you ever want to talk shit about games or horror movies. I'm your man. I'm into it.
Definitely will. Bethany, one last question. I leave it to you. Please take it away.
All right, and I think I know what the answer might be, but let's see.
Hopefully.
What is your favorite scary movie?
See, here's the thing. We were talking about iconography and things like that when I talked about Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
But I sit here and I go, what do I watch a lot? Like what is on actual, play a lot in terms of horror. And, every now and again, Halloween and Candyman, they make the play. But what I didn't talk about that it's hitting me in the face because you said, what is my favorite? And it's like, I find myself watching Hostel 2 a lot. And
nice.
I have 100 reasons why, because I never watched 1. I thought 3 was cheaply done, but actually not terrible. It was cheaply done, but it was not terrible. It was shot differently. It had a killer cast actually, and it was sort of like in comic book terms, it was an Elseworlds tale. It was like in the universe of Hostel, what happens on Earth 2 kind of thing, because Vegas is not Hostel, Hostel is fucking, what is it? Not, I'm trying to remember the country now, but it doesn't matter. But it's basically Eastern Bloc, fucked up. That's what you think of in terms of aesthetic, is all bets are off because it's not the US, and you can't just all the because everybody's got the fucking dog tattoo. So I would say in my favorites, Hostel 2, I like it's been around for a long time, so no spoilers, but I mean, some piece of shit gets his dick cut off. Pretty good movie.
Literally my favorite part.
You're like right there alone.
Oh my God. It's literally like Eli Roth and his team was like, what really is the fantasy of a revenge film? You know what I mean? Like, what really are we talking about here? And that's a balls. I mean, I don't like there's a lot of films from Eli Roth and from is that Twisted? I'm trying to think of what the company is. But anyways, it's Twisted, I think, right? Because of the screw with the fucking spikes. But at any rate, whatever, or Lionsgate, Twisted, doesn't matter. The point is that those movies, they're not all winners, but you can't have a Hostel 2 without Hostel 1. And that's a sign of a good sequel and a sign of a good movie. I always talk about, people go, I like the second one or the third one more than the first one. I mean, so much better. And I'm like, you realize that you could not possibly have the sequel that you love if you didn't have the first pieces of shit. You needed to have the lore, you needed to have the characters, and that's what makes this one so fun, is the second in 2, when you're flashing on Jay Hernandez's, experience in the first movie, you're fucking ready, man. You're in, and then you could do worse and have a lot of beautiful women being the avenging angels. So, it's good stuff.
Definitely agree. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that wraps up today's interview with Carlos Ferro. Thank you again, sir. This is a fucking blast. Easily one of my favorite interviews.
This was fun. This was a lot of fun.
This was fun. This is definitely fun. And so again, thank you for being on the show. We will definitely get you back. Guys, if you haven't, go play fucking Gears. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, okay, I know you're talking to me now.
Yeah, Beth. If you haven't played the game yet, go play it. It's on Game Pass, for crying out loud. All of them are.
If you're playing Gears 5, there's new Dom stuff happening all the time. How good was that? How good was
I
that?
know.
That was me not violating any non-disclosure agreements. That's me shouting out your viewers.
Wink,
I'm just
wink.
saying, keep playing Gears 5.
Definitely. Awesome game. But that wraps up today's show, guys. We will see you when we see you, whenever the fuck that's going to be. So, for the Horror Fiend, I'm Jeff. That creature right there is
Bethany.
that guy over there is Carlos. Later. Where's the stop button?